Is Apple's new Mac Pro ridiculously overpriced? Turns out, that's not really the case. Welcome everyone, it's Andrew here from AppleInsider, and today we are talking about the new Mac Pro. And if there's one thing that people can't stop talking about in regards to the new Mac Pro, it's the price. We have seen countless sensationalized headlines plastered across the internet. Regardless of which news source you're looking at, whichever Twitter feed you're looking through, there are piles of headlines from everyone knocking Apple for the ridiculous $50,000 plus price point of the top of the line Mac Pro. Not only is that not ridiculous, it's actually far more common than you'd think. So let's go ahead and look at why the new Mac Pro is priced where it is and how it compares to similarly spec'd Windows PCs. When we're trying to judge the price of the Mac Pro, it is important to take two things into consideration. First, context. What are we actually comparing this to and what is it meant for? And then two, where a lot of that money is going when you're picking up a Mac Pro. So let's investigate both of those, starting with the latter. A lot of focus has been put on that $50,000 plus machine, but where is that money actually going? And is it all necessary? First is RAM. Actually, 25 grand of that maxed out machine is just going to 1.5 terabytes of RAM. Now, one, you can get that user replaceable, you can buy it aftermarket, so it's not necessary to go through Apple right out of the gate. And second of all, that is a huge $25,000 just going towards RAM. If you need or don't need RAM, that's one thing, but it's not like you're overpaying for the system itself. Secondly, another 10 grand is going towards those Radeon Pro Vega Duo cards. When you pick those up by themselves, aftermarket separately, those are actually $5,600 a piece. So Apple lumping them in for $10,000 for two of them actually isn't a bad deal. Upgrade to that 28-core processor, add the Afterburner card from Apple, and it's pretty easy to see how you can get that machine to be above $50,000. But if we focus just on the things that you kind of need to upgrade from the beginning, say you max out the graphics, say you max out the processors, you're only getting to about a $25,000 machine. It's not nearly as crazy as the $50,000 model that everyone is balking at. Funny enough, there are a lot of jokes out there knocking Apple for charging $400 for the optional set of wheels for the Mac Pro, but they kind of neglect to mention the fact that on Windows, it charges you over $300 just for the OS license that Apple includes for free. One of my favorite sensationalized headlines regarding the new Mac Pro comes from CBS News, which reads, Apple's priciest Mac Pro is $52,599, 56% higher than the typical US income. That is factually accurate, but it's a ridiculous comparison to make. Apple isn't marketing this or selling this to your typical median family. That's just not the case. This is a pro-level machine, it's a pro-level workstation, and that is where we need to compare this against. Now, we could just sit here and talk all day about how it's not that expensive and compare it to these workstations, but it's more fun to actually do the comparisons. So that's what we set out to do. We went to Dell, Lenovo, and HP and built comparable models to the Mac Pro to figure out what the cost would be and what they do or don't have compared to the Mac Pro. So let's go ahead and dive in, starting out with the base model, the entry-level $6,000 Mac Pro. Looking first at HP, we built a comparable tower with an Intel Xeon 6234 3.3 GHz 8-core processor with 32 gigs of RAM, 4x8 gig, and 256 of SATA SSD storage, and an AMD Radeon Pro WX 7100 graphics with 8 gigs of memory. This is up against the Mac Pro's base configuration with an 8-core 2.5 GHz Xeon W processor, 32 gigs of RAM, Radeon Pro 580X with 8 gigs of video RAM. The processors are similarly with real-world performance, and the WX 7100 and 580X cards have similar performance with 4150 GFLOPS for the former and more than 5530 GFLOPS for the latter. The Mac Pro is effectively $6,000. The HP, on the other hand, is a hefty $8,500. That is on sale from the full price of above $10,000. And the HP still lacks features such as Thunderbolt, explicit support for 6K displays like Apple's Pro Display XDR, and more nebulous Apple design elements, like a near silent case. After the HP comparison on the base model, we moved on to Lenovo, which did fare quite a bit better. A Lenovo Workstation with Intel Xeon Silver 4110 8-core processor, 32 gigs of RAM, NVIDIA Quadra P4000 graphics with 8 gigs of memory and one Thunderbolt 3 port will set you back $4,964, though it is on sale for the holidays at a good price of $3444. The Lenovo model still lacks many features of the Mac Pro, such as the Thunderbolt 3 ports, USB-C, dual 10 gigabit Ethernet ports, and again, all of Apple's design elements in what we outlined above. Continuing the trend, we pulled up the Dell site and designed our own Dell Tower with very comparable specs. A Dell workstation with an Intel Xeon Gold 6234 3.3 GHz 8-core processor with 48 gigs of RAM, there are no smaller options available, NVIDIA Quadra P4000 graphics with 8 gigs of memory, and 2 Thunderbolt 3 ports racked up the cost to $5,851 after $2,522 in holiday savings. Nearly the same price, but without many of the Mac Pro's benefits. Now that was just the base models. So let's go ahead and spec out the Mac Pro on the graphics and on the processor and compare that to the Windows PC counterpart. Again, we're gonna turn to HP. When we did the same thing, comparing everything with maxing out the graphics to be comparable models and the 28 core processors, Apple's one came in under $24,000, and yet the HP model came in at $27,688. Though, of course, it does come down after discounts to $22,150. Contradicting what a lot of people assume, this is actually the opposite of what we found. Apple's Mac Pro costs less at full retail price than its Windows counterparts. Now, Apple's machine is brand new, and of course, Apple doesn't really run much in the terms of holiday promotions, but at full retail price, the Mac Pro is cheaper than the Windows counterparts. We've seen it on the base models, and we've seen it on the spec'd out models. It's kind of crazy because everyone is assuming that Apple is overpricing this thing, and yet Apple's comes in cheaper and has more features. It has those additional Thunderbolt 3 ports. It has Apple's design aesthetics. It's portable with the handles on top of it, additional wheels for the bottom, support for Pro Display XDR, and so many other features that make a Mac a Mac. All the comparisons we're seeing out there are very cherry-picked, and they're neglecting the near-quiet design of the case. They're neglecting the need for Mac OS on workstation hardware. So many things that make a Mac, and the Mac Pro is a pro-level machine, and that's exactly what Apple delivered. With the new Mac Pro, Apple set out to design the best Apple computer that it could, the most powerful piece of hardware that it could build with expansion options and amazing design, and that's what we got. Don't believe all the headlines you've seen out there. The Mac Pro is expensive. There's no doubt around that $50,000 for the maxed out model is a lot of money. But when you look at it in comparison to the larger PC market, the workstations that are out there, Apple's Mac Pro is not nearly as expensive as the sensationalized headlines make it out to be. To who it's aimed for, that pro market, the Mac Pro is exactly what it needs to be. It is expandable. It has Mac OS running on workstation hardware. It's got an amazing design. It is quiet. It has portability in the terms of wheels and the handles. Got an amazing display to go with it. Apple nailed it. And it's not nearly as expensive as everyone makes it out to be. I want to hear what you guys think though. Let me know down below in the comments or argue with me on Twitter at Andrew_OSU. Hey everyone, did you guys like that video? Be sure to click on that like button so we can create content that we know that you guys want to see. And follow AppleInsider on all social media channels. If you want the best prices on any Apple gear, check out the AppleInsider price guide that is updated daily. And until next time, we'll see you later.